So the reason I decided to recreate that haircut is because this doll already has these little textured baby bangs on there, and my entry had a very similar fringe. So we're gonna work with these bangs that are there. First thing that we're gonna do is take out kind of a horseshoe style section here. I did this haircut with a scissor and with a feather razor back then, so I'm gonna go ahead and do both of those things again. We're just looking at like where does the head want to flatten out, and this is going to kind of taper into a little V shape, I think is what I did. It's been a while. But yeah, so it's kind of a little bit low on the parietal, coming down into a little V shape here on the side. And then we'll do the same thing, coming around the other side. Laundry's done. I don't know if anyone can hear that. Just a little kind of simple horseshoe shape that tapers a little bit in the back. And we'll clip that up and out of the way. And then I think what I did was a recreation in the back of a shape that one of my instructors, or my hair mentor named Wayne Lee taught, called the Diana, was what I did in the back, which essentially, rather than kind of creating this round graduation, we're gonna cut two different shapes with vertical, cut a square shape, and then from the occipital down, we're gonna switch and cut a graduated shape like that. Oh, are we don't have good service?
You're good. Yeah.
So we're going to separate this out. Let me know, guys, in the messages or the comment section on there if we are getting good or bad service. If it's glitching out, then maybe we can tweak the Wi-Fi a little bit. We're separating the front and the back right at the mastoid, right there. And then all through here is what we're going to do, this sort of flat and then graduated look. And Chloe, feel free to get close up on this if we need to. I'm going to raise her up a teeny bit here.
Yeah, that's good.
So, let's go this way. And if you guys have questions, ask them. Chloe will kind of periodically go through and answer the questions. We're going to start off, this is a little uneven, making sure that we're balanced in this section above here. It's going to be important. We'll just reclip that up. And then we're going to start off with vertical sections. I know we're doing this on school day. People are in the salon taking clients right now. I'm not taking clients because I literally just got back from Mexico and wanted to make sure just in case, I missed my flight or something. So I have time to do this. But if you guys are, in between clients or whatever, take a minute and maybe invite everyone you know to come watch the live. That would be good. So we have vertical sections here. We're going to have vertical sections that follow the shape of the head, working with a round expanded shape this way that follows the shape of the head, and then flat to graduated. So the first thing that we do is bring this out. We'll turn just a little bit. Bring this straight out from where it lives. This was kind of a short look. So it comes out flat like this. And then we're just going to cut a square line from there at the crown down to the occipital. And then from there, we're going to shift our angle to be a little more 45. So kind of taking that line that was just square, tipping our fingers out a little bit more so that we can create a graduated look at the bottom.
Just a second. Okay, you're good.
Let's see, are we on the Wi-Fi there?
Yes. And now it keeps
But now we keep having poor connection, so maybe we'll pause poor connection. All right, so we're back, guys. Sorry about the poor connection. We'll see if that does better. So we're flat and then we're graduated. Simple. Now we're going to have traveling guide because we're going to have a round expanded shape horizontally. Meaning, if we're thinking about this way, it's round like this. So we'll turn a little bit with each one. At the top here, we're going to bring this out flat and square. Just like that, using a little of our previous section as a guide. And then we're going to connect just down to the occipital. And then we're going to stop. And then what can make the graduation even easier to do? We're going to tilt this little lady forward so that it makes it just a little easier to put in that 45-degree angle. Gives us some more space to work. Notice that my knuckles are in and my fingers are pointed out, which gives me this nice kind of 45-degree angle. And it also lets me use the nape of the neck as kind of a marker so that my fingers can sit in and I know that I'm in the right place each time. So you can see it gives us this sort of nice flat and then tipped in sort of a shape. People will ask like, well, why, like when should I use this shape? Really, whenever you want to make that sort of an end result. Think about like what a flat layer does. It flattens an area out, and graduation builds up a little bit. So it's going to give something flatter down to something that tips in. Maybe someone that has a really high or like full occipital area that you want to flatten out. This is a great shape to use to balance that. So we're rotating a little bit. So we have a traveling guide still. We're going to pull this out using a previous section as a guide. You can check for that. I'm using a flat hand position, cutting down to the occipital area. I was like laugh when I use like more technical terms. I don't know what's wrong with me. And then we'll come in, tip my fingers out. So we're now at more of a 45. You could separate this into 2 different panels if you wanted. Like you could work the whole top and then work the whole bottom. If you feel confident enough doing it, then you can just work top to bottom and progressively change your shape. So vertical sections, just like that. Rotate a little bit. We have a traveling guide. We have to travel with the guide with each section that we take. If we don't, then we're going to start over-directing too much and it will start to get too heavy. So we'll bring this out. Still looking for my guides. I don't mind checking for it every time. No reason to be a hero. You know, if you're concerned or if you're like, well, I want to make sure that this is right, feel free to check for your guides. If you don't see it, we have a little saying. We say, when in doubt, just chicken out. If you don't see a guide, don't do anything. Don't just like cut for the sake of cutting. Drop your section, pick up a little bit more of your previous section, and a little less of your new section. Your section size, should be pretty consistent. You want to be able to see through it. You don't want to take so much that, when you pick the section up, it over-directs everything to the center. We're basically pulling out straight from where it lives, just using a little bit of our previous section as a guide. And comb that out, looking for the consistency in that flow of that shape. We can also do a little cross-checking, and we should see a little roundness, like it is a little bit round. When we pull this out, we get that nice round shape because we're following the shape of the head. So vertical sections again. Just like that. Rotating. It's coming out flat at first. So basically from here to here. So there to there is a flat layer. And then here is more graduation. So I'm bringing this out flat. Making sure I'm not over-directing too far. Down to the occipital, continuing flat. Then from the occipital down, I'm going to tilt my fingers out just a little bit. So now we're making more of a 45-degree angle. So we're getting tighter towards the nape, building up a little weight to the occipital, and then it flattens out again. Combing things out to make sure my shape is how I want it. And I think we're actually going to stop this one section earlier than what I have pre-section now, which again is one of the reasons that we don't like to have too many twisted up pre-section panels while we're cutting, because you might change your mind. And with this doll, it sits a little further back, so I want to make sure I don't take that too far forward. Over-directing to my previous here, looking for my guides, cutting flat. Another reason we don't like to use too many clips is because you can see it kind of will just get in your way. It gets in your workspace a little bit. So we'll just stick this. That's what I do to every client. You give them a little facial, wrap it around the chin like that. If you have some moisturizing product in there. All right, so from there down, we're going to angle. We're going to look for our guide, make sure we're in the right place. You want to be kind of mechanical with this, but not too mechanical. Like you want to make sure that you have a guide. Cool. So you can see we get this nice, consistent flow of a shape there. Kind of gives you this nice kind of soft contour to the shape of the head. So for this other side, I'm going to drop down a little bit more, because if we want to keep working palm to palm on this side, over directing, I need to have my fingers facing up. On this side, I mean, I could keep them facing up and over direct like this, but it feels a little funny for me to do that. So I need to flip my hands over and work this way. So we're going to rotate now. And then we'll continue the same way. So I'll just take a vertical section, get that out of the way. And I lower the doll because lifting your elbow is harder to do at a really high elevation up here. So it just works easier this way. I'm going to pick this up, come out flat. Make sure I'm only really holding what I can control. I'm not trying to do the whole section in one, cut. Working down to the occipital, which is really, if you don't know what the occipital is, it's just right there. Usually the center back of the head. Then I'm going to tilt, give me a little room. Tilt this doll, maybe it will allow me to do it. There we go. I'm going to go from that flat area, point my fingers down towards the head now, and cut that more graduated shape. So it gets tighter towards the nape of the neck, and then by the time I get to the bottom, I'm actually touching my fingertips now to the nape, where the other side I was touching my knuckles to the nape. But it's still the same reference point. I need to have some kind of a reference point so that I know that I'm being consistent. So we'll turn this doll to make sure we're not over-directing too far. Pulling basically straight out, so I'm not pulling back, I'm just pulling out from where it lives, using that previous section as a guide. Just like that. Let's check for our guides. There it is. Can you see it? Mm-hmm. There's the guide. Cutting flat. Continuing flat one more time. Combing that out if you want to check in the middle. And now we're going to rotate out, pointing down towards the head. We can use a flat position to get in here a little easier. Creating a little graduation. So it's layers connected to graduation. That's really the idea. A flat layer connected to a little simple 45-degree, sort of standard graduation there. Vertical, again. Do we have any questions on there?
No, not yet.
Remember, guys, that you can type in a question in the regular chat and we can ask that, and we'll answer you if I know the answer. If I don't know it, I'll pretend to. So, that's what we all do. That's what I like to do on Clubhouse. Let's go on Clubhouse and just pretend I have all the answers. That's what everyone does. I don't know, I've just been hating on Clubhouse recently because I'm so bored on there. It's like, here's how to get your retail sales up by somebody that you have no way of knowing what their retail is. I'm like, I don't care. It's fine. How to get your retail sales up. Use your retail on clients. Just be like, I'm using this, and they'll be like, it smells good. I'm like, here you go. If the product works, it will sell. That's the truth of the matter, I think. All right, so from that occipital area, again, we're pointing down towards the head now. So essentially, you're just making a flat to a tucked kind of feeling there.
Do you have courses for international students?
We do have online education for international students. You can go to fancyhairdressers.com, which is our subscription-based education, where you get all sorts of full-length education just like this, cut, color, style. You also get access to our private social media, which we do private live streams, and we give you access to classes and info before everyone else. You find out about tool releases before everyone else, and it's only $10 a month. We add new videos every single month, and you can cancel anytime you want. So check out fancyhairdressers.com, become a member, become a fancy hairdresser. Just make it official. You're already one. So now we're angling our fingers down from the occipital down. It's hard to get in like this, right? So I can't get my scissor there. So if I flip my hand like that, now I can get in a lot easier. That's why we use that flat hand position a lot, to save our wrist and to make more space. So, I think that's about even for the other side. Yeah, we're looking beautifully even there. You can kind of check your balance like this, and you can cross-check like this. And you want to see a little bit of round shape there. If you see anything that pops out too much in a cross-check, you want to go back and cut it the original way. If you end up cross-checking and you see, big chunk that comes out and you cut it in a cross-check, you could cut too much of that off and end up changing your shape. Okay, we have another question? No?
Do you consider this a pixie? Is that the goal here?
Yeah, I guess so. If I'm thinking about a pixie, like a real pixie, I think of like Emma Watson when she cut all of her hair real short, or like that Rosemary's Baby look that Vidal did back in the day. This is going to have some extra length from the top and then little baby bangs, but it is a short what I would consider feminine haircut. So, it's up to you if you want to consider that a pixie. So now we've dropped this front area, and what we're going to do is we're going to now do more of a round graduation, and we're going to take these diagonal back sections that will cross over our corner and connect to the back. So we're going to connect two different shapes together. Vertical flat layering and graduation to round graduation from the front. So to do that, I'm going to now stand again on the opposite side, and I'm going to be working with a palm-to-palm position, diagonal back. You can decide how diagonal you want this depending on how heavy you want it to turn out. I want it to still be kind of flat, so I'm going to be using a vertical diagonal back situation there. If you want, a lot of the time I will disconnect the front corner some, so I have that nice kind of soft hairline piece in the front. But that's completely up to you. And here's how you can do that. What you can do is bring this out. Your first section, what we'll do, we'll cut, and then we'll stop. And then we've disconnected that piece. And then you can decide if you want to whittle that in later on to make it short, or you can be like, ooh, I want to have it. Well, let's say you are entering Color Zoom or Naha or one of these more creative abstract competitions, you could leave that little dangle there. Mm-hmm. We'll leave it for now. So we'll continue diagonally with 45-degree elevation, because we want this to be graduated. Traveling guide still. So we're lifting our previous section as a guide, holding this at 45 degrees, and starting to connect those shapes together.
Any tips to make it easier to hold your shears?
Practice, I think, would be the best tip that I can give you, is to do as many haircuts as humanly possible. Other things are, a lot of times people are accidentally holding their scissor out like this, where the scissors at the tip of their fingers. I would say tuck your scissor in a little bit more, even a little more than that. And then also, you see how I'm not holding it like this, I actually push the scissor out a little bit so it tips out. So you want to pull it in and then tip it out, and that way it'll be much easier to just use your thumb. So continuing diagonally back here, and you can see what that will do. It's that will start to cross into our previous section in the back, and we're going to connect those shapes together. So we're lifting up, holding this at 45 degrees, looking for my guides, and then I'm going to carry this all the way through. And then here's our connection point. Right there. You see that? Our connection is right down there. It could be shorter, and that's totally fine. It will just connect shorter. You'll end up taking a little bit more of that corner off, which is totally cool to do. So you can start to see how this is going to work, right? How that will come together. You can do exactly the same thing with the razor. It's totally fine as well. What's so funny? All right. Bring this out again, 45 degrees, traveling guide. If you don't have a traveling guide, it's going to start to maybe look a little bobbish. It might look a little Princess Di on the side, which Chloe, our camera person today,
Hi.
She did a really accurate version of the Princess Diana cut that I literally walked into the back, didn't know that that's what she was trying to do, was a Princess Diana recreation, and I said, look at this Princess Diana looking doll back here. What is this? And she was like, I was trying to recreate the Princess Di. So she nailed it. Maybe we'll show that to you later on my
stories
or something. Just a couple little extra pieces down there. Checking for our graduation. You know, we can see that this kind of comes down and builds that weight in. So we'll continue diagonally. And you can really start to see now how these two shapes are connecting together. You can also see my elevation is 45 degrees, comes down a little bit. It's not all the way up here. It just comes down at 45. If you want to check your elevation, like let's say that you do it and then it looks too heavy. If it looks too heavy, then all you have to do is lift it up a little higher. Like if you create a weight line, like let's create a weight line by accident. I'm gonna hold this down a little too low, right? So when we comb this out, this is too heavy. You see, you can literally see a weight line in this right here. So we have a saying, we say, if you see weight, elevate and look for a corner. So that looks too heavy to me. So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna lift it up a little higher. There's the corner. So now we're going to knock that corner right off. One little extra hair there. And we'll comb that out again. And we can see that the weight line has disappeared, right? So you see unwanted weight, elevate, look for a corner, and cut that corner off. Do it little by little if you want, you know? Make sure you don't cut too much off. So here's some of our last hair to connect in here. Coming out. Looking for my guides underneath. Make sure your sections are small enough that you can easily see and work with a guide. And we'll connect together. And our last one's going to be right here.
How did you section the first guide in the front?
I took a vertical diagonal back section there, and I just did a visual determination of where I wanted that length to be. Because you're not working with a guide from the back, you just kind of have to decide, you know, where do you want that guide, like how long and how heavy do you want that weight to be. So now we've got this little bit of extra weight here. I think we'll actually come and just freehand cut some of that in. So if I think about the look that I didn't have a super long, crazy sideburn on there. And I want to recreate the look that we did back in 2015. So we're starting to really see that shape coming together. Now we'll do this. The hardest part is to recreate the other side the same way. So when we want to do that, what I'll do normally is I'll come behind and I'll pull out the front and I'll just get a reference for like how long does that need to be. You could even use your comb and say like, well, how far does it come out? It comes out this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little notches out, and I can get a reference for how long that should be there. For the camera's sake, I'm gonna flip over this way now. Lean this girl back. And we're gonna have vertical diagonal back sections on this side too. So just vertical diagonal. And the reason we're doing vertical diagonal over horizontal diagonal, if we remember from the other side, does anyone remember from the other side? Let's see if we can answer that. Why are we doing a vertical diagonal back section opposed to a horizontal diagonal back section? Again, we're gonna disconnect this little piece here because we wanna have that to work with later. So we'll disconnect that. I can get a reference for like how long should this be? I'll cut my first section, and then my suggestion would be to come back and double check. We left it a little long, so we're gonna cut a little more off. Because if you do like 4 or 5 sections, or you know, the entire side, and then you realize, oh wait, it's too long, then you gotta come back and do the whole side again. So you might as well check on your first one, make sure that it's balanced. Did anyone answer that?
Yes, someone said to connect the back in graduation.
To connect the back with graduation is correct, but we could do that with a horizontal section, or I'm saying a horizontal diagonal or a vertical diagonal, but the end results will be slightly different. So does anyone know why we choose a vertical diagonal back, or like why I chose that for this particular look opposed to a horizontal diagonal back, and what the differences would be? Anyway, we're gonna, while someone answers that question, we're gonna keep working through. Just creating a nice 45-degree graduated look here with these vertical diagonal back sections, and you can see, you know, it starts to connect to our length in the back, about the 3rd or 4th section you take. We just have a traveling guide here. Someone answer?
Yes, it says to create graduation without a heavy line.
Yes, to create like a leaner, kind of flatter graduation. which is, it sounds like an oxymoron, flatter graduation, but you know what I mean? It's like you can build up more weight, or you can build up less weight.
Right.
So, horizontal sections generally are going to build more weight. They make things look heavier. Like that's why, like if we're wanting to create like a square one length bob, kind of like the heaviest look you can do, just a square one length, we use horizontal sections. So, taking these sections back, diagonal sections, we're using diagonal so that we are kind of hugging the head a little bit here. It wraps things around the shape. So, coming in, connecting that in at 45 degrees.
What are your favorite combs to use?
I really like these Wise Park combs. You can see I'm using Wise Park.
Is it worth the money? That was another question.
The combs?
The YSL Parks.
Yeah, I think the Wise Park is worth the money. I don't think it's that expensive, and you kind of get what you pay for with a lot of things, you know? So, I mean, some things are overpriced for sure, especially in our industry. People gouge prices with like scissors and, you know, tools and everything. But I think the Wise Park is worth it. It's not that expensive if you ask me. They last a long time. They don't break as easy. So, you know, you get a long use out of them. And it's also just what I've been using forever. So I'm kind of just really used to using it, I think. So that's what I like to use now. Are they connected? No? So we're coming through. You can see here's our connection point as we work through. It just connects right to the back. Right there. I always comb it out. You can see I'm constantly kind of combing it out and just looking for the shape. Look at this. We're in our barber room. Look at this awesome setup. He's like, I've got water. I've got pee. No, I don't know. I think this is aftershave.
Yeah.
And then this is his disinfectant right here. I think this is a cool way to set this up. It looks like he is a mad scientist. He's definitely mad a lot.
Earlier he commented that's a cool setup.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, in the very beginning, yeah.
You guys should follow him. His name's Just Another Barber. And he was the officiant that married Shelby and I. So, still coming back.
Oh, lighting got crazy.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. A lot of people were commenting on your wedding ring and saying congratulations.
Yeah, check it out, y'all. If you want to, my wedding ring is from a place called Honey Jewelry Co. out in San Diego, which they make some really cool stuff. So we're literally just looking for our guide underneath, working at 45 degrees here. Here's our connection point to the back. And my last one will be right about here at the top. Use your mirror if you're working in the salon, you know. Mirror is there, you know, for a client to see in the end what their hair looks like, but it's really more for you to work as much as you need to. Cool, so we got this shape in. Let's check for balance from side to side. Oh yeah, we're looking very nice there. And then we're gonna whittle off this little fringy, whatever this is, sideburn. Because we just want it to be a little long, a little bit longer, but not much longer really. I just want a little something. Cool. So that gives us our, what is that, the external shape, which I always thought is like, it sounds weird to me that this is external, this is internal. I mean, I don't care really. Whatever makes you understand it better. When I was taught it, I always got confused. I was like, are they talking about external, internal, internal, external? But the sides and the top, we'll say that. Working the sides are done. So we've already got a little baby bang section that is like a triangle that was taken out to give us this soft baby fringe. And then the shape that I did has a bit of disconnect that hangs over the fringe, so you can get all these fun ways that you can photograph it. Because this was for a photo competition, Color Zoom. Now the Global Couture competition that is actually going to be this incredible virtual event through Goldwell. If you haven't entered, you guys should check this competition out. If you end up being too late, you can't enter this year, keep on trying. I've gotten second place in it twice. Another stylist here, Kate, has gotten second place in it once, her first year on the floor. So I thought that was really cool that she got second place like right away as soon as she entered. You know, I always say get your hopes up. People are like, don't get your hopes up. I'm like, get your hopes up. Like let's you know, want to win here. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to use over direction to connect this through the back, but then leave some disconnection on the sides. So I'm gonna comb this to the side because I want horizontal sections like that, and it makes it easier for me to take horizontal sections when I comb it to the side. And we're gonna comb this to the back now. I'm bringing it down. It kind of connects in the back. So I'm holding it down at 45 degrees. I'm gonna look for where are my lengths underneath here. And we're gonna use a little skimming action. So we're going to bring this down, put in our razor like this, and very light pressure, we're going to skim the weight away. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stroke, stroke, stroke. Really, it's just about layering through slowly with very, very light, soft pressure.
Do you do that with wet hair or dry?
Definitely like to do it with wet hair. I really don't like to use a razor at all on dry hair, but I do see some people doing that, which is fine. You could do this in less sections if you want, but the idea is that you're just like planing. Sometimes it's called skimming, sometimes it's called planing, and it just gives you a very like soft connection. And you can see what it starts to do is it will build up that weight even more. So you start to get even more graduation there. So the head is basically straight ahead right now. I'm kind of just bringing this back, looking for my guides there. Keep in mind how far you skim, right? So I'm skimming from here to there. I don't want to start up here if I didn't do that here. So we want to keep consistency. So you want to have a visual reference. It's about 1 inch, I'd say. So we're like going 1, 2, 3, 4. Soft pressure. I'm not pushing at all. I'm just touching the razor and letting it connect. Always using a new razor with basically every single haircut, unless maybe I just did a teeny little bit of cutting or something. Like if I just like softened somebody, but especially with COVID now, it's like we want to use a new razor every cut. It's easier to sanitize. So horizontal again, over directing everything. We have a stationary guide at the moment. So bringing this all the way back, making sure my tension is good, combed out and even. Take your time, get that tension right. Don't just grab whatever, you know, it's like really work at it. I can see through, so I know that my guide is like right there. You know, I can literally see through the section. You guys can see that? Mm-hmm. So we'll comb that out. I'm gonna be working 1 inch from here to the guide, here to the guide. So skim, 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 skim. And you can do this with like the folding razor that you see us use a lot. Literally the only reason that I'm using this razor right now is because we're recreating a look that I did in 2015, and I happened to use a feather razor like this to do it. So skim, 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 skim until it goes right through. You see I'm over directing this back like that, creating a square line in the back now. Skim, 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 until it just goes right through. And we can see again, like look at the profile is important because it starts to build that weight really beautifully. So we'll bring this back again. 1 inch of skimming at a 45-degree elevation. Skim, skim, skim. You don't want to be able to kind of hear it either. If you can hear like coming through the hair, that's no good. That's when your client's like, oh my God, the sound. And they go home and they have a nightmare about it. Even if they like their look, they're like, oh, I was scarred forever by the sound it made. All right, so here's our last couple pieces. Because we have bangs, we probably won't see anything in the middle here. Combing this back. Just gonna see what connects and what doesn't. We're gonna check the middle. Oh, we got a couple little hairs here. Inch skim, inch skim, inch skim, cutting right through. Drawing that back. Really don't have a whole lot to connect.
A lot of people are asking if we're going to save this video.
We are. It'll be on my IGTV. so you guys can come back and re-watch it. I think it'd be cool if you try to recreate it. I'd love to see your guys' attempts to recreating it. And then I'm gonna do the color at some point. And we'll see how that goes. Yeah. All right, so we've got our weight built up. You can see what that does by over-directing back. It gives you disconnection in the front. So that's like, it gives that little bit of extra length there in the front. So I'm gonna comb this forward now, and we're just gonna see, is it too skinny anywhere? Because I had disconnection, but I didn't have like insane disconnection. It wasn't like so long. So now I'm just gonna bring this forward and do the same thing a little bit forward. So I'm going to take off where I think it's too long with some light skimming. But the disconnection allows for a lot of versatility and a bunch of different cool shots. A lot of the time, unless it's the right client, like it might not be the best for a like sort of everyday kind of a style, because it's a little more creative, it looks a little funkier. This is all kind of visual at this point. You're just like dialing this stuff in where you think it should be. Where it looks too heavy, you're making some little tweaks and changes to it. But it's like a fun, creative, short haircut, working with disconnection. And then what I did for the color is I put accents of blue, silver, and ash brown throughout this. So we'll probably do like a blonde version of it, so I don't have to make this a dull brown, because that can be kind of hard to do. But that is like a fun little disconnected pixie. We can call this the weird haircut of the week. Because it already had the baby bangs. If you guys want to see the original look, go to my stories. I posted 2 pictures. The first picture I posted is the actual entry that I used. The second one was just like another sort of like little B-roll one, which was still kind of a cool look, I thought. So we'll do that, and then maybe I'll blow dry, and you guys can see what it looks like dry.
Is this a good cut for someone with thinner hair in the front?
I mean, I guess so, because you cut the bangs real short, which makes things look a little stronger. But if they don't have enough weight, like for the disconnection, like if it's too skinny of a disconnection, it looks like you missed a piece. So you want there to be enough weight, for it to look intentional, So we're just gonna wrap this girl out a little. I just push things back and forth, so it's like pushing it down and to the side, down and to the side, both ways, but kind of forward as well. I don't want it to. We always say a way to make a very modern, kind of cool pixie look a little more dated is to take all this hair in the back and just, round brush it up, fluff it up through the back, because then you get that little rooster thing going on. Not as cool. And I'll have a lot of clients that I've tried to change. If they're watching, I'm trying to change this for you. But then I'll do this all forward, and then they come back with it all back. So it's hard to get people out of what they've done already a million times. But I think it makes a much more modern and sort of sleek look to push it forward. So, even rough drying, I'm just still thinking about wrapping it. I'm using a round brush to wrap it. I think it's fine. You see, I get a lot of good tension from the round brush, because I can literally turn it as I wrap it. What you need for these dolls, to like press that down.
Especially the hairline.
Yes.
Those bangs weren't there.
They get jumpy.
Yeah.
This is from Hair Art, which is like one of my favorite lines for doll heads. So it lays down better than some. But no matter what, they're always a little jumpy. The doll's always a little jumpy, I feel like. could iron it if you want. You could just kind of pull those disconnections, smooth them out a little bit more so we have some polish.
Do you think this would be uncomfortable for the client to blow dry it all towards the face, or no?
I mean, no, not really. Like, on a client, I wouldn't go like this on them. But you don't need to have as much, like, you don't have to be as aggressive on a client. Like, you see me doing stuff like, you know, like this, it's because it's a doll. On a client, I probably just use my fingers and maybe round brush a little bit through the top parts, but the doll is just way, you know, jumpier and crazier, so I have to use more attention. But, you know, like, I'll bury a client in their hair sometimes. And I'll literally say, like, I'm gonna bury you for a little bit, look down. And they're used to that. Like, they almost, you know, like, they're here to get their hair looking good. They're not here to just, like, you know, like, a lot of times, like, let's say a client is like, no, I need to be able to do this or to type on my computer. I'll tell them, you know, in order to get the look that you want, you're gonna have to look down. You gotta stay still. Like, it's important, you know? So just be honest with them. You know, it's not like a surgeon or something lets you, like, stand however you want while they're trying to give you your appendectomy. They're like, you need to go to sleep now. I don't know how they set you up, really. Just trying to get a little extra polish on these top pieces here. And just flat wrapping back and forth, you know, just it lets the hair kind of move around nice and free as well.
Which hair dryer is that?
This is a Battlist, I think.
Would you cut this the same if it was curly?
If it was curly, you know, it's like, if it was curly, you'd end up with the disconnection might look a little different, you know, like, you could, and then see how it looks, see if you like it. But it's like, the original cut that I did was not on curly hair, so it definitely was on kind of like a medium texture with very little, like, natural wave in it. I did end up putting some wave in it for, like, the photos. But I think you could do whatever you want, yeah. You could try it on curly hair. Now I'm just looking for, like, any of these, like, weird little things that are poking out. Is anything too disconnected? Like, that's another thing, is, like, when I work with disconnection, I want it to always look very intentional. You don't want to use disconnection and have it look like it was an accident or like you forgot a piece. So with these, like, little sideburn pieces, you know, some of that is just a little too much. It will come in. You know what would be fun? I can hear Kate's voice over there. If we could convince Kate to go live at some point and do her color zoom haircut, it would be really cool as well. Because she did another really fun one. I'll post it and see if you guys are into it. So yeah, it's like we got this creative disconnection that you could, like, you see, you can push it over the fringe and you get something that looks a little more kind of classic pixie-like. You know, like a little just disconnected top pixie, or you can, you know, push it the other way and get something that's, like, a little bit different. But again, this was for a photo competition, so it just allows you to have all these different kind of cool. Here, let's face this way so we get better light. Mm-hmm. And you get all these cool little, like, ways to style it and get some fun pictures of it. But it's not a, you know, a super salon friendly kind of a look, but it just depends on who's in the salon, really. It can be salon friendly if you have a client that is a little more creative and wants something more abstract. But again, this was like a recreation of a look that I did for Color Zoom back in 2014 or 2015. So I think that's really kind of a cool thing to do. The disconnection, you can see, gives you a lot of, like, different options that you could get some really kind of fun and funky styles out of it. you can even detail the hairline even more. I can't remember what I did with the hairline right now, but it's like you could decide that you wanted like more strength in the hairline or something, or to like open things up a little more around the ears. But yeah, that's the basic gist of that look. You can see that you get this like fun, like soft profile shape. I think some of these are just a little too long. And then I'm gonna do the color, and we'll hope that I do the color at some point soon. But yeah, like, I mean, you can get really abstract, crazy, like, designs out of it that are really quite cool, I think. Or you can get something a little more conservative and, you know, like normal out of it if you want.